Yeah. Look who I found. The great Jim David, one of my all-time favorite comics, one of the guys who was on stage killing a veteran comic when I first started in New York City. Every new comic knows Jim David, every veteran comic. If you've been around, you know this legend. He has done so much. One of the first openly gay, the first openly gay comedian to have a Comedy Central special, and lots to talk about and catch up with. I'm so happy you could join me. Thank you very much for doing this. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. I'm getting over a cold because I just got a cold yesterday when I returned to New York from Florida because I wasn't used to this, and this is nothing from what I understand. This is like better than what you guys had last week, right?
It has been a real polar freeze, although I think it's a myth that the weather affects your health. So,
You do?
yeah, I mean, there's no proof of it. People just think that that's the case. I think sometimes, I don't know, give you a sinus infection or something. What do I know? I feel like I had my doctor friend debunk that a long time ago.
You should go work for RFK Jr.
What do you think of him?
Huh? Well, I mean, he sounds like, Katharine Hepburn swallowed a vibrator, whenever he starts talking. Vaccines, autism. I mean, I don't know where and his whole family has told us, don't hire this guy. What was it? Yeah. Caroline Kennedy came out and said he was a predator who like chops up animals. And I mean, there's a lot of insanity there. That's the problem.
His wife, Cheryl Hines, was just on the Joe Rogan show, and she made a really good point where she said his entire life and career, he's been doing things to help people. Why do people think that changed? What do you make of her in that opinion?
I don't know what he's been doing to help people. He's been on the fringes of everything, and scientists have looked at him and gone, no. No. So I don't know what it's like. What has he been doing? I don't get it.
I think they're talking about the legal work that he's done on progressive causes, particularly environmental issues. There's no doubt he did a lot of good work with this organization called Riverkeeper. But it's just like so many other powerful, successful people, particularly men, I guess, where you could be doing good. Maybe your work is good work. That doesn't mean that in the meantime he was doing all kinds of horrific things to women. I mean, he's a terrible guy by many measures. So I'm not sure that it matters if your work was benefiting society or the environment in any way. If you're conducting yourself, as we've seen with so many of these powerful men, in private by abusing and exploiting women.
Well, you remember Roy Cohn would hold parties and say, if you're indicted, you're invited, to the parties.
I didn't know that was a phrase, but if you were in trouble,
if you're indicted, you're invited. Yeah. He would have parties with all these criminals in New York because he was so flaunting of the law. But it's almost like in the Trump administration, it's like, if you're a sexual predator, we've got a job for you. Because there's like a bunch of them, like Pete Hegseth had to pay 50 grand or whatever to some woman. And then they get to deny that it was a problem. I mean,
the great thing about Hegseth, the terrible thing about Hegseth, but the evidence for his terrible behavior, his mother. Remember that? His mother wrote a letter to him just scathing.
You're horrible.
Telling him he's horrible.
Saying, right? You're horrible.
Then apologized.
Yeah.
Of course. Or said he's gotten better now that he's gotten.
But then she had to apologize because they got to her.
Right. It's crazy. Well, there's a lot of things we could talk about. We can talk about anything forever. Jim is an old friend of mine. He's a veteran comic. He's had tremendous success as a stand-up comedian all over the country, all over the world, on Broadway. He's written so many things. He's done pretty much everything you can do in the business. And he had reached out to me. Well, actually, I reached out to you a couple weeks ago because I used one of your jokes on Australian TV and, of course, gave credit to comedian Jim David, I said, on Australian TV. The joke was about the Melania film. And you had posted, I don't know, on Threads or somewhere. I think that's
on Facebook.
On Facebook,
I'm only on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on any of the other.
Oh, you got to join us
on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky.
You got to join us on Threads.
Really? Another app?
Fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Another app.
What was the exact joke? Was something like somebody broke into my apartment.
I said somebody broke in. I said I'm traumatized. Somebody broke into my apartment. They didn't steal anything. They just left 4 tickets to Melania, and I considered it a hate crime.
That's very, very good. I got a big laugh from the host, and so I reached out to Jim. And I was like, "You got to see this. I used your joke. I saw your post, and I used your joke on TV." And so we were talking, and then he said, "Let's talk on the record in front of the people." And so here's Jim David reached out to me yesterday. He said, one of the things that you're fired up, obviously, about, and anybody who cares about human rights, civil rights, and LGBTQ rights, is here's the headline: the Trump administration has removed an LGBTQ pride flag from the Stonewall National Monument in New York City, first national monument to LGBTQ rights, following a directive restricting what kinds of flags can be flown on national park sites. So I decided, let me reach out to an older gay man.
Older indeed. I'm so old, I invested in cryptocurrency. That's how old I am. But I was around before there were gays. There were just quiet people. They weren't gay. They just didn't say anything.
Right.
It's the funniest thing is that I actually have a joke in my act where I talk about how they have all these don't say gay laws in schools, especially in Florida and Texas, where they think if you just don't mention anything gay at all, the kids will not turn gay. And all I can say is I was raised in Western North Carolina in the 60s in elementary school, and I'd never heard of gay. I didn't know it existed. There were no gay celebrities. There was no gay anything. And I'd never even heard of it until I had a dick in my mouth.
Same with me. Oops.
And then, and then I went, oh, okay, this is promising. There's an idea here. No, but the whole Trump has been whittling away at the civil rights of everybody who's not white, straight, and Christian, including women, including all minorities. I mean, they've taken away exhibits in museums about Black history. They recently did a thing where they eliminated the part at the museum where Medgar Evers, and the guy the Klansman who shot him, they removed the statement that he was a racist. What? And they want to sanitize it, but it's like, oh, well, these people aren't really that bad. And I don't know that all of this comes from Trump, because I've always thought that he was kind of a political moderate in many ways. Like I don't think he's really got personally a problem with gay people. But he's surrounded by people who totally do. Like
I think he has hear me out. I think he has a problem with anyone who's not super wealthy and quote successful and popular. So he'll like a gay person that's famous and wealthy, and he'll give them a job, Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and then people will say he's not anti-gay. He'll like a few Black people who have paid homage to him or worked for him or helped to try to get him elected,
or played in football or something,
or are athletes, or are rich and successful, and he'll like any attractive woman, I guess. But the bottom line is, his people are anti-LGBT. His people are Christian nationalists.
Yeah, well, the Heritage Foundation is. I mean, he's going totally on the Project 2025 playbook. He screamed before he got elected. He said, "I've never heard about it. I've never read it." Nonsense. Of course he did, and of course he has, because they come in and tell him what to do. People tell him what to do. I think he makes decisions based on revenge. I mean, it's like, I'm going to go after this person because they tried to investigate me or all of that stuff. But all the other stuff, he has people come in there and tell him,
I think that we have to be clear with who is leading the ship, and whether it's any agency, but people like Stephen Miller and so many other people that are cracking down on and doing everything they can to erase history as well as take rights. I mean, take rights, hard-fought rights, voting rights, human rights, civil rights, worker protection rights, and so much more, environmental rights. And those people, I mean, this was spelled out, right? And we knew they were going to do this. This is all this Project 2025.
Well, the Heritage Found, if you read it, I read a bunch of Project 2025. It's too long to read the whole thing. It's like 1,000 pages. But I read the LGBT part, and they just are, their whole argument is that, we're done with promoting this at all. We're done with promoting anything that says that LGBT people exist. So they're just trying to wipe out the existence. And
Right.
they actually did it with trans people, because when they, you remember a year ago, they took the LGBT out of, they took the T out of LGBT at the Stonewall Memorial website, the Stonewall Monument website.
Right. That's what they did. That's what they did first. They took they
Yeah.
hate the T. Let me ask you just about the the kind of the news. They've escalated now, not only by taking the transgender part of that term in history from the Stonewall, which is a national monument, by the way.
Made by Obama. Yeah, Obama designated Stonewall, and Stonewall is a national monument to LGBTQ plus people and their rights and their struggle for rights, because that's where a lot of people still don't know this, Pete. I'm running into especially young people who don't know anything about Stonewall at all.
I just watched a couple of quick documentaries knowing I was going to talk to you about it, but there's a lot of myths about it apparently. But you were about to say, but people credit the riots there with the birth of the gay liberation movement in America.
Totally, because what was going on was at the bar and at other bars around the country, police were raiding the bars and coming in and taking gay people away for just being gay and in public. That was it. They would round up homosexuals or anybody that was gender nonconforming or whatever. They would round them all up. And, the Times of Harvey Milk, the movie, Harvey Milk, the Sean Penn movie, opens with this whole black and white sequence. Do you remember where they're
I don't think I ever saw it. I don't like the gay stuff like that and heated rivalry. Anything where people are like overtly gay, I don't choose to watch those things.
All right. Well, I'll be saying goodbye now, because I was planning on being overtly gay any second.
Oh, I like stand up when it's overtly gay.
Yeah, but, exactly. But no, the beginning of Milk was all these black and white actual films of gay people being huddled into paddy wagons. And they were doing that in Stonewall in 1968. And it had also been, Judy Garland had also died. So all the queens were upset.
That night was the night that Judy Garland died. So all the queens were upset, you said. And that was,
they were.
So they were together in solidarity and being, humans.
A bunch of people, especially trans people and cross-dressers and transvestites, whatever you want to call it at the time, they were the ones that fought back, and they threw the first bricks, because they said, no, you're not going to take us away. You're going to let us be here in peace. And that's all there was. And that started the whole modern gay rights movement. And so that's what the monument is about. And so the fact that they moved the flag is like, well, you can be about it if you're indoors and nobody knows about it.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. The flag in general. You have seen so much in your life on gay rights.
Oh, God.
And we have come so far in a shorter period of time in terms of laws, and marriage equality, and anti-discrimination, and just culture and the way it's moved. The rainbow flag means so much to so many people, and I want to just ask you, like, what it means to you when you see it someplace on a car, in front of a building or a home or anywhere else. They've painted it on crosswalks and other places. They're really trying to force it down our throats. But what does it mean to you?
It means that you're welcome here. It means that somebody, that's an ally, that's a person who supports LGBT people. That's what it is. It's like the rainbow was created by this artist named Gilbert Parker, and he put in all the colors of it just to symbolize the diversity of the community, and just also the diversity of pretty much all people. It's like not everybody. We're in a white supremacist country right now, and we have a white supremacist, huh?
Always have been.
Well, it's been white supremacist since the founding. Pay attention, class. The country was founded by illegal immigrant right-wing white supremacists who invaded the country, stole the land, massacred 50 million Indians, and then imported slaves. And then that's the way. Are there any questions? and then when they freed the slaves, they had Jim Crow laws. So it's like. That's why it's interesting. That's why Project 20, the 1619 project, which is the whole Critical Race Theory Foundation, That's a I read all of that. That's a fabulous text.
Oh yeah, it's super important. And every American,
because it just all it discusses is this country has been institutionally racist. It means the racism is baked into the cake.
no doubt.
It has been the law.
So the rainbow flag, though, it means that this is an ally, that this is a safe space, that I can be myself and not have to worry about being under threat. But I think particularly one of the things that's so sad, and this has happened in my kids' school district and all over the country, is the fact that so many have moved to get the rainbow flag out of the classroom. Because when kids are coming of age and becoming understanding about their sexuality, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, all of those things, you want kids to feel comfortable. You don't want them to feel like so many have, probably most, alone, scared, isolated, minimized, marginalized, in a way, putting themselves out for discrimination just for being themselves. That rainbow flag in the classroom, that rainbow flag for young people, Jim, what does that mean? And what does it mean when it's taken away?
It means that there's a safe space for you here, young person. That means that, look, it doesn't have to be in the classroom on top of the blackboard, for everybody to see, but just somewhere. It just said, like, even on the door of the place that has a gay student union, which they're also trying to take away. Right. They're trying to take away all of that because because look, it's, again, I go back to Project 2025. This is an anti-gay document, and it is written by anti-gay people who only believe that children should be raised by a man and a woman, and that only a man and a woman is the legitimate union that should be recognized by the government and everybody else. And now there's a whole coalition of 47, religious right outfits who are starting a campaign to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which is the decision
marriage equality, gay
legalizing marriage equality. And their arguments are the same specious stuff. It's bad for kids. And listen, I don't know about you, but I know a lot of really screwed up people, and all of them came from a mother and a father. They did not come from a gay relationship. The few kids that I know that were raised by gay parents have got it together pretty much. And I'm not saying that they're better, but
well, gay people are disproportionately more educated, more affluent.
Yeah.
So you're more likely as a child to have more opportunity. And
they also, gay people who have kids, they really want them. It's not easy to get them. It's not. It's like, in fact, one of the lines, I'm writing a screenplay. It's about 4 married gay couples in New York. The working title is Hannah and Her Gay Sisters, because it's like if Woody Allen made a gay movie in New York, this is what it would be. But there's one scene where one of the couples, they're walking in the park, and they've got their kid with them in the park, and they see a woman, and she hasn't seen him for a while, and she says, "Oh, whose kid is this?" And they said, "It's ours." And the first thing she says is, "Where'd you get it?" And they're oh God, here we go. So they have to explain, because you can get it through surrogacy or adoption, or who knows, you found it on the side of the road. Who the hell knows where you got it? But gay people are assumed that they should not raise children still, to a large degree. There's still a lot of stigma.
Yeah, and there's still laws against gay adoption in places as well. And if the right has its way, not only will they outlaw gay marriage, it'll take every right away from gay people. You certainly won't be able to adopt. And even worse, we've seen what happens to gay people in plenty of other countries as well. I mean, we've seen, you could see it being criminalized. And I think that getting back to Stonewall, it was a crime to be gay in 1960 in the United States of America, and everywhere but Illinois.
Right. And then it took the Lawrence v. Texas decision to outlaw, decriminalize sodomy or whatever. And then there was Bowers v. Hardwick. I can't remember what that did, but that was another one.
Why is it that people have a hard time understanding this? There's always plenty of trolls when I go live, and somebody in the comments is saying no one is more special than the other. Get out of here. Where are the straight flags? They don't get special privileges because they're gay. They can put gay flags in their bedroom. Get out of here. Where are the straight flags, and why do gay people deserve quote, special privileges. I don't think that gay people are asking for anything special, is my understanding. They're asking for the same thing, the same rights that the rest of us have. The reason why we talk about gay people in this case, or black folks, or women, or anybody, is because they have been marginalized.
Yeah.
They haven't
And
been given rights.
that's why there's such a
because
thing.
they're discriminated against, because they're killed just for being them. They are, that doesn't happen. No one gets killed for being straight, you fucking ignorant pricks.
No, not really. And it's like, I think just straight people should be glad they don't need a straight pride. You know, they don't need it.
Exactly.
And they also say, you know, well, just do what you want. I don't want to know about what you do in your bedroom. And I'm like, okay, are you married? Do you have kids? Yes. I don't want to know what you do in your bedroom. It works both ways. You know what I mean? Don't show me those kids. I don't want to know how you got those. That's disgusting.
I mean, if you think it's disgusting, and if you don't want to know, like it to me, it's always a sign, Jim. It's always, when you're so uncomfortable with homosexuality, it's usually a sign that you're probably just a few beers from a cock. How would you put it?
I think it's one beer away. one beer away.
There's a placebo too. It's an NA beer, and you're like, oh my god, I don't know what just happened to me. But yeah, exactly. There's not even any alcohol.
I don't know, but there's a lot of, you know, I've never met a secure together person who's straight that has a problem with gay people. I've never met them.
Right.
I've met some really screwed up ones who do. You know, in fact, I'll never forget. I was on a ship and I was doing comedy, and they're not, you know, a ship is a conservative audience usually, and they were not prepared for me. They were not prepared that I was going to start talking about my husband. And, you know, this woman in the front said 2 big thumbs down for that. And I said, what? And she said, marriage is a sacred covenant only between a man and a woman. And I said, not anymore, bitch. And it went downhill from there. But it was really fun.
Really? How long ago was that?
That was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. How often does this happen now in the era of MAGA, when you are traveling, when you're still doing cruises, when you're in places where there's more likely a mixed group of ideologies, if you will?
Usually it's okay. Sometimes I get the isolated complaint. That still happens because they can't believe I even brought it up. You know, because I talk about, I mean, look, it's funny. You know, I'm going to talk about my life, and as one of the ways I introduce it is I'll say, you know, when Dan and I got married, it was in 2012 when they legalized it here in New York. Thank you, Andrew Cuomo, for that. He worked his tail off to make that happen. But we were on the same insurance, you know, because he's got a real job. And so I was on his insurance at work. And then after they legalized marriage equality, the insurance company said, you know, we're not going to insure domestic partners anymore. You have to be legally married. So I was forced into a gay marriage by Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield of the state of New York. So they made us get married.
It's really scary what's happening in the country vis-a-vis LGBT rights. What do you want to say about the transgender movement, the world, the discrimination there has been against transgender youth, and so on? Like, when did this issue come up for you? How do you see it, and the way it's animated the movement, and the way that it's really, I think, been a huge success, a boon for the right to use, to discriminate, to threaten, and try to marginalize trans youth especially? What are your thoughts on
I think that this all started after marriage equality happened, the anti-trans stuff. Because what happened was, I'm convinced the right gets their talking points and they all go on Twitter and everything and do the same, you know, complaints every day. But somebody started, and I think somebody actually said this at a meeting, that like we've lost on gay marriage, but we don't have to lose on transgender people, because we don't want men in women's spaces. We don't want biological men in women's spaces. I can understand that. I do. You know, it can be uncomfortable, but I've never met a transgender woman that you can tell. And I've met a bunch of them here in New York, and I've never met one that you can actually tell this was born a man. And I have a comedian friend. His name is Ian Harvey. Do you know who he is?
No.
Ian. Well, Ian is a transgender male comedian, and I've worked with him a couple of times, and you would never know. looking at him that he was born a woman. He's got a beard. He's handsome. He's, you just never know. And I saw a lot of the trans servicemen. You wouldn't know. They fit right in. And most of the time, I do think that transgender people themselves need to do a better job of explaining what it means to be trans, because I think that a lot of people don't understand that. They just don't I mean, they can understand how I am attracted to the same sex. They're beginning to get. But as far as somebody changing their physical body
I don't think that burden should be put on trans people themselves. I mean, like, why should they have to answer all of our questions? And shouldn't we have the burden of that if I have an issue with it? There's lots of ways. It just feels almost like asking a black person to explain or a gay person to explain. Like when you say that the trans community needs to do a better job explaining, it sounds like that it shouldn't necessarily be their responsibility. I'm not sure.
Well, what I mean by that is, I think that we don't understand their lives.
Fair enough.
And
yes,
I think that,
no doubt.
And I think that they need to tell us more about their lives.
Okay,
that's it, and just how they came to be what they are. Because then, see, like for example, Ian the comedian. Yep. I said to him when I first met him, I said, "Listen, and this is like 15 years ago. He's from Maine. We used to work together at the Comedy Connection in Portland, Maine. That wonderful old club.
Oh yeah,
where I recorded my first 2 albums.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They were recorded right in Maine.
Huh.
But I said to Ian, I said, "Listen, could you please assume that I'm stupid and that I'm backward and bigoted, and just tell me what it means to be trans? Tell me how you got here." And he said, "I will always be biologically female. That will not change. But since I'm a little person, I felt like a guy. I felt like a guy all my life. I never felt like a girl, ever. I felt like I was, I'm biologically a female, but in my head, I'm a man. And that is how I've chosen to identify." And I got that. I said, okay, that makes sense to me. And I just want to hear more of that. I'm not saying that we should put the burden on the trans people at all, because I don't want to get hate mail, but I think that also people need to nobody cares. What do you care if somebody is transgender? What do you care? To me, it's like referring to a transgender by their chosen gender, like by their chosen pronoun, is like saying, "I'm going to call you Pete because that's your name." Do you know what I mean?
I don't, of course. Yeah, it's preposterous. One of the most preposterous things that they've actually done, people talk about taking your rights away. You mentioned this a moment ago, but they have made it illegal to be openly trans and serve in the military.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is one of the reasons they say is because some trans people are on hormone replacement or drugs of any sort of medication. And it's the dumbest thing in the world, because so is probably the fucking rest of the military. They're probably all on Xanax or any number of medications. It doesn't disqualify you from service. And most people in the military, by the way, okay, they're all in harm's way. If you're in uniform, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your service. But let's be honest. Most of the people that are in the military are not necessarily in harm's way. They're working any number of jobs, logistics or something else. And their gender identity doesn't mean anything. And I could make the same case for those in combat. It's the same argument they made an anti-gay argument about those. I used to do so many jokes about that back before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, when it was still in place. Like that mattered. Like you'd be in a firefight and somehow, I think I used to say, Jim, I think there's one scenario where it would be a problem where I'm a gay guy, I'm in a firefight, and 2 guys go down, and there's only room for one of them in the helicopter. I can only take one of them back. I'm going to take Roger because he's sucking my dick. I'm sorry, Mike. There's not enough room in the helicopter. That I think that would blur my choice. I'm a guy.
I did a joke about how we'd have it'd be great if we had an all gay army. Instead of singing army songs, they'd sing show tunes. Instead of saying "I don't know what I believe," they'd be going, "You'll be swell, you'll be."
Yeah, that would really scare the enemy.
Gonna have the whole world on a 1, 2, 3, starting here. starring.
That's awesome.
But I think it's just another one of those. The trans ban in the military is just another one of those things that's based on prejudice. It's not based on science. It's not based on whether or not the trans people are qualified, because they are. It's just based on bigotry. That's it.
Yes.
And Pete Hegseth is all this performative masculinity. It's like he just the other day he was speaking to a military gathering and he said, no, there's no more DEI, no more dudes in dresses. It's like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand.
Let me ask you, that brings up another issue. I wasn't thinking of talking about this with you today, but it does bring up another, just in general, just you talk about performative masculinity, but let's just talk about just general masculinity and just how hard a lot of men have of sharing their emotions, of being vulnerable, of very scared to be seen as weak, to be seen crying, to be seen as anything that might be feminine or gay, right? What is it about, like, what about in the gay male world? How much do those types of stereotypes and ideas hold men back from sharing their emotions? I'm sure it's a generalized thing to a certain extent, but at the same time, when you're not worried about being seen as feminine or about being seen as gay, and there's just a probably disproportionate amount of gay men, certainly those that are more confident, even more educated, I suppose, that are more comfortable in their emotions, whatever those emotions might be. Do you know what I'm driving at? Like, what's it like for gay men? These judgments, these stereotypes. All of us straight guys are always, having a hard time sharing our emotions and having thoughtful conversations with other men and showing weakness and crying and all of that. But it doesn't seem like gay men have as hard of a time with that.
Well, none of the gay men in my circles have a hard time with it.
Why?
But I have met them. I have met them.
So why don't gay men have that same struggle, sharing their emotions, appearing vulnerable, looking weak?
Because they've been through a lot of emotions previously, just coming out. You know what I mean? The world has been filled with tearful scenes with the parents, or tearful scenes with the best friend where they finally admit it to people. And then all of a sudden the floodgates are open and they can be themselves and they can share themselves. It's interesting you brought up Heated Rivalry before. One of the reasons why so many straight women love that show is because it shows two guys showing emotion. And it shows two guys being intimate. And they don't want to think about whether or not the actors themselves are gay, because it doesn't really matter. But the fact that it shows these two great-looking athletic jocks and they're being vulnerable, and did you see the show Heated Rivalry? Did you?
I will not watch it.
You won't? Okay.
As I hear, there's a lot of gay stuff in it.
It's loaded with gay stuff. Are you kidding?
No,
they should have an OnlyFans.
My friend Kevin, who a lot of listeners know, openly gay guy, he said that show like literally got him out of a deep, dark depression, and he's watched it like 8 times. He says it's like the greatest. I really do need to watch it. I just need to watch it just out of respect for him, much less the other reviews that it's getting. I haven't yet, but
I will say this: it's a very, aside from the gay subject matter, it's a brilliantly directed and acted and put together piece. And whoever is the director and the director of photography, they've made something in Canada on a low budget look like a major motion picture. It's really, really well done, and it's very well cast. And the characters are. One of the characters, the Canadian, is very sensitive and quiet, and the Russian is very much like, no, you are mistaken. You know what I mean? He's very much a Russian type.
So getting back to this question, this idea, just you have a great answer. Like, gay men have been through a lot and are more comfortable.
Especially people my age.
Yeah, talk to me about like men your age who are openly gay or who are gay, and what you've seen.
Who are still alive.
Still gay too.
Still alive.
Still alive because
we went through the 80s.
Yeah.
I moved to New York when I got out of college in 1977. And in 1981, there was all of a sudden an article in the New York Times that said rare cancer seen in 41 homosexuals. And then that was the beginning of the AIDS crisis. And so anybody who went through that, it was a very horrible time, because you lost your best friends and you didn't know if you were going to get it. And so that was a heavy emotional time. And so gay men tend to bond with each other emotionally because sometimes they come from families that are not. I mean, I just met a couple, and they're getting married, and one of the families won't come to the wedding because they're religious fanatics.
Hey.
So they won't come. So, I mean, gay men have been through a lot. I mean, I kind of feel for straight men in some regards because you're expected to be the breadwinner. I mean, listen, old stereotypes have died very hard in this country, and they're trying to bring them back during this Neanderthal. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to put us all the way forward to 1925.
I do, but I want to just drill down on this one more time because I think it's a really important issue for quote straight men, which is we could learn a lot from our gay brothers about talking about our emotions, about being vulnerable. This is something that I talk about a lot, Jim, with other men. And you could be the most pro-gay ally, but still not be able to express yourself, be vulnerable, be honest with yourself, be weak. I've talked recently, plenty of times how I'm separated now and how it was my ex-wife's decision and it felt like rejection and it was horrible. It was humiliating and I didn't want it. And it made me so insecure. Like I need to be able to talk about that with other people and not feel shame or embarrassment. But that is not a common thing for us, is what I'm saying.
No, we don't have any. I mean, I don't have any problems. I mean, I wear my emotions on my sleeve all the time,
right.
And I have, whenever my husband goes out, if he's not home by 7 when he said he was going to be, 15 minutes later, I'm ready to call the hospital. I have these abandonment issues. I don't know why. I have all these issues that I don't know where they came from because I never was abandoned by anybody ever. No, never. But I still think, and I also think, I mean, I've been upper middle class my entire life. My parents, my father was a very good provider. We lived in an upper middle class home in North Carolina. I've never gone without money in my I've made my living as a comedian this is my 40th year in comedy, Pete.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Jim.
Thank you. And I've made my living for 39 years at it. And I've never suffered financially, but I always think I'm going to be in the poorhouse.
Yeah.
I always think I'm going to end up living at the Port Authority bus terminal.
That's really, and you don't know why, because you've always, but both of these issues that you struggle with a little bit, at least, are this is the point. You can talk about them and not feel shame and not feel embarrassment. This is like so many men can't talk about their fears about their financial security or abandonment issues or any number of other things dealing with their anxiety. They can't name emotions, and even if they could, they wouldn't want to because it would appear to be less than.
There's a great documentary about Woody Allen. It's a 2-part documentary that was on American Masters on PBS. And at the end of it, he says, I have achieved every single thing I wanted to in my life. I wanted to be a film actor, and I became one. I wanted to be a director, and I became one. I wanted to play the clarinet, and now I played it all over the world. There is not one thing I've ever wanted to do in my life that I haven't achieved. But somehow, why did I feel like I got screwed? He feels like he got screwed. And
he hasn't got screwed enough by the world, if you ask me. But still, that's a good. I like that point that he's making. By the way, I've said that about myself at 50. I've done like everything I wanted to do in my life and my career. Now the rest is awesome. Like I'm excited for whatever comes next, and I am worried about losing what I've gained. But it's not many people could say that. But I don't want to worry about losing it all every day, all the time. But it's a normal concern that
it's just a normal concern. Also, because
when I lost my job at Sirius, how broken I was. It was horrible for me.
Yeah,
it's still hard to not have a corporate gig, to be self-employed. That's true of anybody who's self-employed. They know what I mean. But you have to be able to talk about it openly and not feel shame around being laid off or your marriage or relationship ending or issues you're having with your kids or drugs or any other number of issues.
There are all these support groups here in New York for people in show business that are like AA meetings.
Mm-hmm. Really?
They come to get together and talk about the struggles they're having with their career.
Wow.
Because everybody has struggles in show business. Yeah.
Everybody has struggles, period. Everything falls apart for everyone at some point.
But I mean, unless you have had a major success like my friend Ray Romano, who, you know, I was at the Comedy Cellar and he was in there and everybody knew who he was, and everybody knew who he was on the street. And I said, how do you deal with all these people knowing who you are? And he said, having $250 million helps. And then I said to him, you know, Ray, I said, I've never really cared about being famous. I really haven't. And he said, oh, so then it's going well for you.
That's great. While we're doing those kinds of name drops, not name drops, but like you've seen everybody come through, every single comic. You know everybody. I know
all the ones of my generation.
Certainly, all the ones of your generation.
The young ones that are in the clubs now, I know only a few of them.
But who is another person who never really changed or is still a class act when they see you? They don't forget you. They don't forget your name. They don't forget the struggle of what it's like to be a comic. Give me another one or two.
Louis Black, Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Chris Rock. I mean, I've known these since they're babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're all pretty nice.
Yeah.
There's only a couple who I don't want to mention who are cunts.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask you to lambaste. What's the difference between female comedians and male comedians? You want to take that generalization on? You know, one of the things I feel like that is true of the generalization that a lot of male comedians, certainly a lot of straight guys, they definitely get into it or they definitely use it to get laid. Female comedians are definitely not doing it to get laid. I don't know about gay comedians, but what do you think? What stereotypes do you want to back up? What generalization do you think is accurate?
Well, I think I think the stereotype that women have to struggle harder to be recognized than men is very true. I think for a long time, back in the day, female comedians had to make themselves kind of grotesque clowns to get, like Phyllis Diller or Toady Fields or Joan Rivers. They had to be loud and brash and crazy, and like Phyllis Diller had the hair, you know, with the cigarette, and she was like this wacky housewife, and Roseanne was like the housewife to the 10th power, you know. But now you have people like Nikki Glaser, who's not afraid to be just a feminine woman, and and with a mouth on her. And
and so many other young women comedians whose names most people don't know, but are out there in the clubs and
there's lots of them.
Yeah.
There's lots of them. But female comedians have suffered much more discrimination than male comedians, because it's like a lot of the time an audience in a regional club doesn't even want to see a female comedian on the show.
Right. You think women are funny, Jim?
Yes, they're hilarious. The reason I got into comedy was because of Roseanne. When I saw her, when I saw her, I wanted to be a comedian around 1985, 1986. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know. It's like, well, who am I up there? Am I Jackie Mason? Am I Rodney Dangerfield? What character? I thought I had to be a character. And then when Roseanne did her first spot on The Tonight Show, she came out and just said, I never go no place. I never do nothing ever because I'm a housewife. I hate that term. I prefer domestic goddess. And just the way that she did it was so authentic. Yeah. And she was so much herself, talking about her family. You know, my husband said I need more space, so I locked him outside. You know, just stuff like that. I went, oh, so I can be myself on stage. I don't have to be a character. So that was the reason. That was what gave me the impetus to get started, was seeing Roseanne do that. Then I saw her a few years later at Catch a Rising Star, and I told her that story. And I said, you know, I just wanted to tell you that you're the reason I got into comedy, because blah, blah, blah. And she goes, oh yeah, thanks. And that was it.
That happened with me and Dana Carvey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was tired. It was at Sirius XM years ago. He was in the lobby. I bumped into him. He didn't know who I was, but I told him, you're the reason I got into comedy. He's like, oh man, that's great. And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't, you know, don't meet your heroes kind of moment. Like, I don't know what I expected.
Well, my heroes when I was starting out were Jonathan Winters, who's nobody knows about him now, and Phyllis Diller and Lily Tomlin and Rodney Dangerfield.
Sure.
And one night I was at Dangerfield's, and it was you've worked there.
Oh, for years I worked.
You know what a zoo that club Could
I did
be.
1,000 sets at Dangerfield.
Oh
so
yeah, but it could be a real zoo.
Oh yeah, hell
because
yeah.
it was a bridge, what we call the bridge and tunnel crowd. It was a lot of yahoos from Staten Island in there. Make me fucking laugh. It's that kind of thing. But it was one of those nights where I was killing. It was a really good night. And the audience was full, and they were hanging on to my every word. Then I walked out in the lobby, and there was Rodney. And he comes over to me and he says, "What's your name?" And I said, "Jim David." And he said, "Oh, you're very funny. I seen you in there getting big laughs." And then he walked away. And I will never forget that as long as I live. One of my idols told me that I was funny.
That's great. That is a great story. Did you ever meet or work with Joan Rivers? I got to
4 times I worked with her.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
was a class act. She was so great.
She was extremely nice to younger comedians.
It was so nice to me. She had me open for her. I warmed up a Comedy Central pilot of hers. And then she asked me to open for her at one gig she did in Atlantic City, 1,200 people. And I bombed.
You did?
Yeah, it was like I bombed because I like made fun of George Bush and they didn't like it. They were like more conservative, her audience, even though she was. And I mean, at least that joke I remember bombing. I remember specifically because the only laugh was her cackle off stage at me bombing, and it felt so good that I just had solidarity with this legend. Let me just ask you this before we wrap up, which is what are you worried about in terms of freedom of speech, in terms of comedians? What happened to Jimmy Kimmel, the attacks on comedians and our ability, or anybody's ability to express themselves anywhere, has been pretty scary. How did you see that? How do you see that currently?
We're still in trouble because we have a president who cannot take a joke. He cannot. And if he heard some of the things that I say about him on stage, he'd come after me. And even though, because I'm not even famous, you know what I mean? But he would come after me. So we're under a lot of pressure. I have felt censorship for the first time in my career over the last 2 years, from people on ships, from people in clubs, corporate events, definitely. No politics. Don't mention any politics. So it's like people don't want to be, because the audience has become so tribal that it's like if
the country has become so.
Yeah, it's like the country. And if you make one joke that they might disagree with, they turn on you. And that's it. They don't want to hear any more from you. Like I do a joke about drag queens and I say, for kids, they're trying to keep drag queens away from kids. And I say, drag queens are not the problem for kids. Guns are the problem. No school has ever had an active drag queen drill. It's like, be careful, kids. Paul's coming down the hall. Get in the ball. But it's like that joke has made some people mad because I actually say guns are the problem.
If you, after Charlie Kirk was killed, if you made not only a joke about it, but if you in any way weren't
posted,
if you were it's one thing to celebrate somebody being killed, which you should be allowed to do because it's America, and if you want to do that, you should be able to. It's not something I generally choose to do for most people, but just the idea that you would badmouth him, like just after he died, a lot of people, of course, criticized him because he was a terrible person and did terrible things. Those people lost their jobs. People lost their jobs.
And the vice president encouraged it.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it.
All these people are encouraged. So this is why we're just in a very, very difficult time right now because, we have leaders who, they would never admit that they're fascists, but they are.
Well, they don't know that they're fascists, but
they don't know what it is.
They know that they don't like guardrails. It's authoritarian. They must know that they hate the law and checks and balances, because anytime someone tells you you can't do that, you can't have that, they take it like rapists do.
And back to the reason I'm here, that's one of the reasons why they took away the rainbow flag at the Stonewall Monument, because they don't want they want to do everything they can to stamp out gay visibility.
You can't do it. You can't. You to an extent you can, but they always end up. The arrest of Don Lemon, the forced firing of Jimmy Kimmel, the taking of these rainbow flags. There's this thing called the Streisand effect, where Barbara Streisand didn't want Google to show her home on Google Maps or something, and then it just made her home more popular. When you try to obfuscate or hide a thing or take a thing away, it becomes more powerful than ever before. Don Lemon is making way more money the day after he got arrested. 100 million more subscribers the day after. Jimmy Kimmel has way bigger ratings now than he did then. And everybody, all these people have more respect. And taking away the rainbow flag, you know that the gays are going to do something creative.
Especially New York. Well, tomorrow they're having a big protest over there where the Manhattan Borough president and Congressman Dan Goldman and a bunch of other people, they're going to raise the flag again in an act of civil disobedience. So if I feel up to it, I might go over there.
I had the great honor of attending the Human Rights Campaign dinner last Saturday night. My friend Matthew Miller is a longtime listener, bought a table and invited me. There were gay people everywhere. And more importantly,
and they were in tuxedos.
A lot of gay people in tuxedos, a lot of people in drag, a lot of trans people, I'm guessing. I don't know. A lot of lesbians, of course. And then there was me. And I acted really gay. And I loved it. They had a all gender restroom, which I thought is always fun to see urinals and see women walking out of stalls and no one gives a shit. Although it makes the lines a little longer for us. So I would like to discriminate more against that idea. But more importantly, the point I'm making about being at that dinner is that is a powerful dinner. Daniel Goldman was there. Don Lemon was there. It was that's a powerful organization, and it's a powerful dinner. It's a powerful movement. The thing about the LGBT movement is there's a lot of very wealthy, influential gay people and allies to gay people. And so you can't hide that movement. And I think the same thing for the Black liberation movement and the, feminist movement. Like, you can try to stop it, but you can't. Like,
you can't stamp out reality.
Yes.
I mean, you can arrest people for murder.
Rights. Like, if we've gotten rights, you can't. It's very hard to take our rights away. That we're hard fought right. They're doing it.
Let me tell you something, though. They took away Roe v. Wade, and we never thought that would happen.
No doubt. I mean, I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying it's hard to do, and there are ways to get around it. Once culture has moved on, I think to a certain extent, it makes it hard.
We just have to keep, and I'll do what I can. I mean, I have a very small little platform, and I'll write my jokes, and I'll say what I can from the stage without being preachy. Because they didn't come to hear a sermon. They came to hear jokes. That's I'm sure a lot of comedians who the response they get is the audience applauding because they agree with them. I hate that.
For sure.
Don't applaud because you agree with me. And I've even cut lines that got applause.
I know. I've seen you do that. You want to work for it, and that's not what you're there for. You're there to make people laugh, not to make people.
And if I can make a point, if I can
call
it sneaking it in the back door, which is ironic.
Is that what we call it?
Yeah, sneak your social comment through the back door. Do you know what I mean?
If you say so.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, or in the side door, however you want to call it.
Yeah, for sure.
You can tell a joke that has a good point to it, but you're not banging them over the head with it, because they're going to forget about it. We're in the boredom killing business. It's like they're there to have a little diversion between cocktails.
Did you see there's a few comedians in the Epstein files?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Who?
Because comedian Bobby Slayton, who I'm sure you know, somehow knew Epstein, and he invited, I guess Epstein wanted some comedians to come for a dinner or something, and so he invited who else was there? Woody Allen, I think, was there, and DiPaolo was there. Nick DiPaolo went to dinner at Epstein's, and he just addressed it. Nick just addressed it, like, on social media or on his show. He just went to dinner. He's like, I never went back.
Yeah.
Nick is I certainly don't agree with Nick DiPaolo on anything. He's really right wing. I think he's very conspiracy driven, but I don't know. He was never assaulting women that I know of. He said
no, not really.
He's
been in a stable marriage. He
always loved his wife. Yeah, his wife is great. I know his wife.
Very attractive. His wife was a big fan of mine.
Yeah, she's happily married for years. Dedicated to his wife. So I think he was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But still, I thought it was funny that comedians went to.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeffrey Epstein.
But all right, it's a very weird time for freedom of speech. It's a very weird time to be an oppressed minority. It's like we're just going to have to get through this somehow, because they're not stopping. They're trying to throw every every monkey wrench in it that they can, because they don't like, I mean, when people accuse people of being woke, that just means they're upset that they have to share the country with people who are not straight, white, Christian, and preferably male. You know.
Well, guess what, Jim? We're not stopping either.
No,
I've got a special set of skills. And I actually have.
I have you now. You should not have come back, Obi-Wan.
Strike me down now. I'll be more powerful than ever before.
I will be more powerful. That's the only impression I can do.
Alec Guinness?
Obi-Wan. Now, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. That's all I can do.
Jim David, everybody. Where can people find you these days?
They can find me on Instagram at Comic Jim David, COMIC, Jim David.
Go over and follow Jim, support Jim. If you get an opportunity to see him live, you should. You should go watch his specials.
There's two things. They can see my Comedy Central special is currently on Paramount Plus.
Ooh.
And it's in if you look up Comedy Central Presents, it's in season 4. And then the other thing is that I'm in the documentary that's on Netflix, Outstanding: A Comedy Revolution, which is about the history of a documentary that Wanda Sykes and her partner made about the history of. Have you seen it?
No, I hadn't.
It's fascinating. You've got to watch it if you're a comedian, because it's about the history of LGBT comedian. You know, it's called Outstanding, and I'm in it because I'm history.
Well, I love it. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm so happy to catch up with you and have you join me today. Thank you very much for being here, Jim. Really great.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching live, and I will talk to you all later. Really appreciate it very much. End the stream.